Okay, so today we are going to do a little bit of a different video. It doesn't involve any paint. I know, shocker. My daughter got a new to her MacBook and she needs a padded sleeve for it. I made one for her old laptop, so I'm going to make one for the new one. The way I do this could be easily adapted to make a clutch handbag, and I'll go through that with you. So first thing, you need the computer. You want to measure around the width of the computer, all the way around. Let's see, it's about 28.5, and you want to add 27.5. I do really know my numbers. So we want to make it 28.5. You want to add an inch because you want to add for seam allowance. So let's write that down. Should have grabbed my paper before we turn the camera on. So, let's see. And then you want to measure around the other way. The reason you want to go around is because if you just go across this way, you're not going to be accounting for how thick the computer is. So, we want to go around the other way. And it's like 19 3/4. So we're going to say 20. And add an inch. Now, depending on which way you want the sleeve to open, you want to add about 8 inches. I know when I made the last one, she wanted me to have it open this way. And this time she's motioning to me behind the scenes there that she now wants it to open this way. So that means you need to add 6 to 8 inches to allow for the flap to fold over to enclose the laptop, or in this case MacBook, inside of the sleeve. You can adjust this to fit an iPad. I've made them for netbooks. You could even make a really small version for a cell phone bag. The technique is exactly the same. So now we have our measurements. So she wants to have it open long way. She would do that to me. Okay, so I have to figure out some math then. So now we're going to put this to the side. You're going to need some Velcro, of course your tools, a tape measure, some scissors, and a sewing machine. We have a nicely patterned chevron fabric, because that's her favorite for the outside. And then just a plain cotton muslin for the inside. And then I always pad the sleeves with just a plain cotton quilting batting. You don't need anything super thick. You want to give the electronic device a cushion, but believe me, if you drop it, there's nothing on the planet that's going to keep it from breaking, so try not to do that. This is just to keep it from getting scratched, basically. So let's start cutting out our fabric. And in case we make a mistake the first time, we'll start on this one because I have a lot of it. I'll cut something else out of there, it's all messy. Don't know what it was. So we have to take our measurements. Let's see. So if our MacBook measured around this way is 28.5, and she wants to open it there, we need to add about 8 inches. So that's about 36.5, I think. Let's do some math because I don't have a calculator and I suck at math. So let's see. 28 and 8, 8 and 8 is 16. Yep, 36.5. Okay, and then we want it to be that long, but then we only want it to be half of the 20 plus 1 inch wide. So we're going to just make it 11 to make it easy. So we want a piece that's going to be .36 inches long, 36.5 inches long, and 11 inches wide. So we want it to fit around here plus a flap, so that's going to be the 36, but then we don't need it, then we only need it this width. So we want 11 inches. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So basically you want a big rectangle that's going to fit around whatever it is that you're making this for. And I have measurements on my table, which makes it a little bit easier. So 36 is 15, 18, about 19 inches is half when it's folded. I just want to get a little piece because this piece of fabric is really big. And I can get this out of my way. Okay. And I always recommend trying this the first cut on a cheap, inexpensive with fabric, like whatever you're using for the lining, like this is muslin. That way if you mess it up, you didn't cut into your pretty expensive fabric. Okay, I do recommend if you have one, using a straight edge and a rotary cutter. If you don't have one, you can do it without by just drawing lines with a pencil on the muslin fabric. And then once you get this lining part cut, you can use that pattern piece to cut the pretty fabric. I do have one, so I'm going to use it. So I said 11 inches wide. And like I said, there's lines on my table. There's a grid on my table, a cutting grid. So we're going to use that because it's got measurements. Here we go, the scary part. That blade's a little dull, it didn't go all the way through. Okay, and that's it. This is a good safety tip because you see what I did? I left it unguarded. That's a great way to cut yourself, which I've done before. So when you're not using the blade, put the guard up so that you can't cut yourself by accident. Believe me, it hurts. Okay. So now we have our piece that should be, okay, this is a test. In theory, wide enough. Ooh, yay, look. It is. Okay. So now we need to shorten it though, because now it's too long. So I'm going to flip it around so I can see my 19. That's a little harder. That worked. Okay, so now we have our piece. It will fit around our MacBook. Something like this, and it's going to have a piece of Velcro right here to close it up. This is the time to decide how big you want your flap. Maybe 8 inches is too long, maybe you want it shorter, maybe you want it longer, then you have to cut a new piece. I think this is nice because I think it's going to be real pretty if it's like that. My daughter's behind the camera, she's got her thumb up, so I guess that's good. I did good. Okay, so now you want a piece of your outer fabric and a piece of the cotton batting that are the same size. So let's cut that out. You want the chevrons this way? I'm asking my daughter behind the camera. Thumbs up, thumbs down, the other way. This way. Okay. She's a photographer, but she likes to be behind the camera. She doesn't like to be in front of the camera. Now, if you're the kind of seamstress or crafter that really needs to use pins, then by all means use them. I don't always. This time I think I'm going to, because I'm going to try to pin all 3 of these together and cut them out all at once. It will make my life easier. Cotton batting comes in all sizes. It's usually one of the things they use a 40% off coupon to buy, because they use it a lot. Like the muslin, because this is a big roll, I'm just going to cut a hunk off. Whatever I don't need for the laptop sleeve will get put back in the bin with the rest of it, and I'll use it for something else. You will probably not be able to do this with the rotary cutter now because it's hard to cut through the batting with the rotary cutter. The table's a little crowded. And maybe you already have some cotton batting at home, but it's not that big a piece. Nobody's going to ever see this. It's just for padding. So you could piece it together inside. Wouldn't make any difference. Maybe you have an old blanket that's falling apart. Use that. Pins. Yes, I know. I need a new pin cushion. It's kind of ugly. So just pin all three pieces together. And then cut it out. You know, I do paint and I do things with glue. Big surprise, the pin has glue on it. I'll use a different one. Okay. That one has glue on it too. How about this one? Oh yeah, that worked. Okay. Okay, so you'll notice I said we left a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but I'm only using about 1/4 inch because we want to allow some extra for when we turn it right side out. You may not get that, but just trust me. I have a coordinating color of like off-white thread in my machine, and I am using a denim needle, which is a thicker, sharper needle to go through heavier fabric. So here we go. So don't start in the middle. You want to start a few inches from one corner. I prefer on one of the short ends. Make sure you backstitch and take out your pins as you go. And go all the way around. Sorry, my table is usually used for painting and mixed media, and there's stuff flying all over the place. I think I missed a part because of course I'm on camera, so things aren't going to work right. Let's see. Yeah, I did. Go back and fix that. Nobody's going to see this part, so if you mess something up, don't worry about it. I knew there was something wrong with that because it wasn't what you'd call straight. The batting is a little bit long, so let's see. I just poked myself. Sewing machine's getting back at me because I don't use it anymore. So if you go a little bit over your seam allowance on the length where you left the extra 8 inches, that's not a big deal, but on the sides you really don't want to because you may not be able to get your laptop in the bag. So what you should probably do is the opposite of what I do, is sew from the fabric side so you can see exactly where the fabric is at, which would have been smarter. But it's been a while since I made one of these. That's the only excuse I have. There goes some more things flying. I think it was push pins this time. Back to the last corner that's on the side where we started. So when you turn that corner, you only want to sew a few inches. You want to make sure you leave this open, don't sew it closed. Okay. Trim off these loose threads because they're going to be in my way. Trim off your corners because all that extra fabric and batting is going to be in your way. See a part where I like missed a stitch, so let's fix it. Fixed. Okay, so now you want to use this opening to turn your fabric right side out. Use something pointy but not sharp to poke out your corners very gently. You don't want to poke through the fabric. I use a knitting needle, which of course has goobers on it because, you know, holy cow. So just very gently, try not to poke through the fabric. And it doesn't have to, you know, be perfect, but you don't want it to be all stuck inside there. So we're going to top stitch it. And my daughter's a perfectionist, so if I didn't get it out there at least a little bit, I'd drive her crazy. I love her, but she knows this about herself because she got it from her mother. So yes, it would drive me crazy too. So again, if the wrinkles really bug the crud out of you, this is the time to press it, but you don't have to because there's not going to be any plastic on this. So you could just go ahead and make the whole sleeve and then press it when you're done, and that would be just fine. So when you get to this other end, you're going to have 2 more corners to poke out. Poke them out as far as you can with your finger. And then you're going to have to stick your hand in this part with the knitting needle. So leave the opening big enough for your hand. And then get it there to the corners. Big surprise, my knitting needle has glue on it. Okay, and then we want to gently poke these out. It's usually a little safer if you, first of all, don't do it in a hurry and poke it from the side with the batting because you have a little bit more to play with. If you poke it straight with the fabric, it's probably going to go through, especially if you're using a cotton like we are. Okay. So now we are going to pin this closed. We are going to top stitch all around all the edges. You have to do it at some point. It's easier to do it now because it'll hold this closed for when you actually turn this into an envelope. So, close to the edge. I use this little, you can see right here where my fingernail is, where the presser feet is. There's a line right here. I use this as my guide as where I want the fabric to go. So I'm going to run it along there, or as close as I can to there, all the way around. Just top stitch this closed. If you don't have a denim needle on your machine at this point, it might get stuck at the corners where there's a lot of fabric. We're going to do a couple of sewing videos, not all today. I'm going to show you how to do one next to make a denim apron like the one I have on in most of my videos. And for that, you definitely need a denim needle. So now as you go around the corner, you know, again, I don't like to stop and press anything, so I'm just going to pull the edge out as I go, and top stitch it down. My mother, if she watches this, will be cringing because she always taught me to press everything. Which is the proper way to do it. I'm just always in a hurry. This is also where you want to make sure you use a nice colored thread that matches your fabric, because if you use something, you know, like dark blue, and any of this ends up showing, then it's going to look weird. If you're going to do this for a really small device like a cell phone, you could make a version of this for a cell phone bag and put a little strap on it. You may not need the cotton batting. It will work, but it's the smaller you go, the harder it is to work with. You don't have to buy fabric to do this. You could use old clothing, bed sheets, almost anything to make this out of. Whatever you have laying around if you don't want to buy fabric. I've made these out of blue jeans. Making any bag, I like to get all the parts on before I do that last stitch. So when I do that last final turning of turning it right side out, the whole thing is done and complete. You don't want to have to go back because you forgot to put the Velcro on or something. That would be terrible and hard to get on. So that's going to be the next thing that we do. Always remember to trim all your threads as you go. Finish your project and have a bunch of dangling. Okay, so we know we wanted to open this way, so without even doing any measurements or fittings, I know I need to put a strip of Velcro on this end. One thing you need to decide probably before you do that is your side seam. So I like to just, you know, everything's nicely finished. So if you figure out how long this needs to be to fit your laptop in there and still fold over, you can just sew this down really close to the edge and just leave it like this. If you want to, you can turn it right side out. You can also sew it really close to the edge and then turn it out the other way. Either way is fine. I think with this fabric it might be fun to just leave it open. Depends on what my daughter wants. She doesn't care. Okay, so first we're gonna put Velcro across the top here. If you're going to make a clutch purse with this pattern, and again, you would want to do it obviously smaller. You could do it the same way, but you want to do it the exact same way, because if you're going to just sew this down, you don't want like edges of your fabric sticking out. So you're going to want to finish everything really nicely. Alright, so now Velcro. I use Velcro for a lot, even on when I make handbags and tote bags. You can do this pattern and make it as a clutch purse. And you could just put a buttonhole right here in the center and then sew a nice big decorative button down here. Uh-oh, she just got really big eyeballs. You could also use the Velcro and sew the Velcro down and then sew something decorative over the top of it. A pretty piece of ribbon, a piece of hand-painted fabric, or maybe a whole maybe you have a button collection. You could sew a whole series of buttons on there. Rhinestones, gems, beads, whatever you want. So use the stitching where the stitching from the Velcro is going to show as a decorating opportunity. So just eyeball it to see how long it needs to be. And so one side to the inside of one of the short ends. Center it if you can. If you feel the need to, pin it down. Go all the way around all four edges of the little piece of Velcro, or it'll make it a lot more sturdy. Make sure you get all your loose threads and goobers off. If you get any goobers. If you feel the need to, use some fray check to keep the back stitching from unraveling. Okay, now we need to measure where to sew this down. Things are still falling on my desk, big surprise. So now we're going to take the MacBook again. We're going to fit it inside here. So, and this is where you make sure it fits and that you didn't make it too small. Hopefully you didn't. Hopefully I didn't. So I didn't. It's going to be tight, but I need to sew it right to the edge. And it needs to be about there. So I'm going to stick a pin there. So I know where this top edge of this needs to be on here. And that'll also tell me how far into this. And I'm going to mark that with my finger where the Velcro hits the piece. And I'm going to pin the Velcro right there. You want this piece of Velcro on the inside and you want this piece of Velcro on the outside so that they meet when it closes. You want to make sure you buy, when you make one of these, probably at least a half a yard, and that way if you do screw up the measurements on the first one, you have enough fabric to do another one. So first I'm going to sew the Velcro down, and then I'm going to sew it together. And I'm going to keep as close to the edge as I can because I know already from just that trial fitting that it's going to be a little tight. So, but that's, you don't want it too loose, so hopefully it fits. Once you get one long edge sewn, you can take the pins out. only have one more step, but it's the important one. Okay, so now we know this edge needs to be here to allow for enough room to cover the macadam. So we are going to pin it kind of away from the edge. Make sure it goes straight across. I would say this is the part that makes me sweat buckets, but it's already really hot out here. In case the humming you hear in the background, that's actually my fan, because my studio's in the garage. You haven't heard me say that before, and it's like 100 degrees out here right now. Okay, so I'm going to sew even closer to the edge than I did before, because I don't want to use up any fabric. I'm going to at the very least be on that same stitching line that I was before. I don't want to use up any extra fabric. Back stitch more than normal at the top, corner at the top edge where the top edge meets the flap, because that's going to get a lot of wear and tear and pressure. So normally I would just do that, but we're going to do it a couple extra times. There we go. Now make sure we line all of our fabric up as we go. Don't be in too big a hurry. Which, yes, those of you who know me know that's hard for me because I always am in a hurry. That's what happens when you're impatient your whole life. So I'm going to go and back stitch at the bottom. Extra couple times. There we go. One edge down. Make sure you trim your threads. Okay, so this side is harder because you want to be able to see where this edge is to back stitch on top of it, so you have to start at the bottom. So you want to make sure you pull this tight, so this top, and have this pinned so the top part doesn't move around. This is also, again, where the denim needle comes in really handy, because there's a lot of fabric and batting right here. And as long as you have a denim needle, you should be able to do this on any sewing machine. Yes, this is a Fock machine, which if you can see in the camera, it's got a differential feed. It was kind of an expensive machine, but you don't need to have an expensive machine. You can do this with any sewing machine. Just make sure you have that denim needle. Go slow. You don't need to go fast. You really don't want to go past that stitching line. Makes me nervous, making sure it fits in there. Sometimes it does, sometimes my math is off. Math is not my strong suit, so let's see. She's got this pink sleeve on here, which is really cute, but it makes it hard to slide in. Guess what, it fits. And again, you want it tight, you don't want it too loose. And pull your flap over. And you have a sleeve for your computer. You can decorate this with some hand-painted fabric, ribbon, lace, buttons, if you don't like this, or you can just put a buttonhole here and put a big button. It's really easy to turn this into a clutch purse with different fabric. You don't probably need the batting in there. You could round this off if you wanted, or make it pointed so it looks like an envelope. Really easy pattern. All right. I hope you guys enjoy that. I hope it comes in handy, and we'll be back with a couple more sewing videos, hopefully sometime this week. Thanks. Bye.